Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. I used buy and hold rental property investing to reach financial freedom. And the purpose of my channel is to help the average person realize that you can reach financial freedom in 10 years or less, even if you're not starting from the best position. In my strategy, every single rental purchase I've done, I've used a real estate agent. Sometimes when people are finding deals on the MLS, it makes sense to have an agent. But if you're finding off-market deals, or if you're using your network to find deals, driving for dollars or cold calling or doing mailers, I have two investors. I have Michael Zuber from One Rental at a Time and Matt, the lumberjack landlord here, who have been investing for, I want to say decades, not that you guys are old, but they have a lot of information on different ways of finding properties, seller financing, on market, off market, using your network. So I'd like to start with Matt. Can you tell us, do you always use an agent? When does it make sense to use an agent? Or have you done deals without an agent?
No, yes.
Okay.
So I've done, so yes, I've done deals. So I don't always use an agent. I will use an agent. So usually if I'm using an agent, it's because it's an MLS deal already. It's also if an agent has a pocket listing that knows what I like and they contact me, my belief is you dance with the one who brung you. And so I don't introduce other agents that I may or may not like more. The person that I love the most is the one who brings me the deal. So that's the relationship that I'll always have with people. People have literally asked me that question. I've said, listen, that's not how this works. You find, you get, you bring, you stay. Just that simple.
Yeah. You find, you eat.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Keep what you kill. And then on the haven't used it, not using an agent. Yes, absolutely. That usually is either like a wholesale deal or somebody contacts me or reaches back out to me based on a letter that I sent them. A lot of times I'll just ask them kind of what their comfort level is, which is they can certainly introduce an agent. The only thing is that that's going to come out of their side, not mine. And the other piece to it too is really just having that conversation of, at any point where you feel like you don't understand something, I'm happy to explain it, send you an email, and you can send that to an attorney. You can send it to a lawyer. You can send it to whoever you'd like to get a comfort level about it. I'm happy to disclose anything in black and white so you can see exactly what we're talking about, because nothing is going to be a fast transaction and let's just get one done. I'm not showing up with a bag of cash at your house. That's not what's happening. Really, truly what's happening is a process by which we can come to an agreement together. And once we have an agreement, kind of understanding what each wants out of the transaction, then that can get passed off to the attorney that can represent you and get your piece done and have a massive savings over what the other costs would be if you actually used an agent. A lot of times it's about 8%, and you can typically get a deal done without agents for about 1 or 1.5%.
And how does it look for you, Mike? What criteria do you use to figure out when to use an agent and when not to?
Yeah. So one thing I do want to be clear about is for the first 12 years of my career, certainly over 100 units, everything went through an agent, whether I was buying or selling. My job during the day was to sell a lot of software. I didn't have the capacity to manage the process and paperwork. So again, financially free, 100% of the deals with real estate agents. Once you get time freedom and you have the ability to manage that, I've certainly done deals off market and direct to sellers. So when do I use an agent? First and foremost, obviously, if anybody brings me a deal, they get paid. I don't care if it's an agent, a wholesaler, a neighbor, a mailman, garbage collectors, whoever brings me a deal that I ultimately close gets paid. If you bring me a deal, you will eat regardless. I was a commissioned salesperson. It is like rule number one, thou shalt not ignore. And I won't swap people out. The first one that brings it eats. And I will tell the second person, hey, it hasn't happened a lot, but it has happened a couple of times where I'm sorry, hey, 123 Main Street, already wrote an offer. Thank you. It's what I want, but you're late. Think of me first next time.
Mm-hmm.
So second, so if you bring me a deal, agent involved, we'll use an agent. One thing that's interesting, I should admit here, is if I'm selling something, I'm going to list with an agent.
Yeah.
I believe the best way to get maximum price and maximum competition is to get the most eyeballs on it. And under the current rules, that means you need to be licensed in your state's multiple listing service. Mm-hmm. So I have not sold anything direct right? I've not replied to any cash offers or any of these things. So again, one thing I will say is everything I've sold has gone through an agent, and I'm happy to pay the 6 to 8, whatever kind of nets. One, remove some liability for me, right? Because the agent is doing inspections and all of these things. So happy to pay agents when I choose to sell. But again, who do I choose? I choose agents that were good to me, right? Hey, you made me a lot of money. I'm going to kick you this listing. Oh, by the way, this is the price I want, right? So I drive the transaction, but they will do all of that. But after that, it's I loved going direct to sellers. Over the years, I've done some deals with sellers with an agent, and I've let them know that, hey, if you ever want to sell everything. I remember one agent or one seller in particular, he called me 2 or 3 years later saying, why don't we just do a deal together? I trust you. We know each other. Let's do something. Did a seller finance deal that was outstanding. Wholesalers. The one thing you got to remember with wholesalers is you've got to deliver. Yeah. Every deal that I said yes to, I closed on, even if I found something.
Yes.
And unless I was lied to, right? I mean, there was a couple of times where I got pictures. I'm like, you didn't show the back of the house, right? You didn't think I was going to notice that, the back of the house was burned. I mean, really? Stuff like that happens, right? When money gets involved, bad things can happen. So, but yeah, again, I will not sell without an agent. I want the most eyeballs, but I am happy to. Basically, what I'm saying is I've done enough transactions. I will assume some risk in this situation to buy without an agent. But if I'm selling, it's going to be with an agent.
What I like is when we're talking, we know that there's different stages of investing.
Yeah.
Like I haven't even opened a book or listened to a podcast. I'm finally understanding assets and liabilities. I've done the work. I've learned my market, and all the way through to being financially free. I've so far always used an agent because I'm in that first 10 years, like you were, Mike. The liability, the time commitment. I still work a full-time job.
Yeah.
I'm not a real estate agent because I'm not looking for a second job. And if I was going to be an agent, I wouldn't want to work with an agent that only had one customer and was working part-time. And that's who I would be. I'd be the agent with me as a customer. I work with at least 3 agents that all know about each other. They have their auto searches set up, and you guys are absolutely right. Whoever finds the deal or sends me the deal that's the person who gets it. Mm-hmm. I get a little irritated when I hear people talking about, can you make a video on how to negotiate down my agent's fees? No, I want that agent to make every penny possible so they're motivated to bring me the next deal. And it might be an off market, on market, it might be a partner, it might be whatever. But like you guys said, make sure they eat and you'll eat. I like the liability. The agents that I work with, they have the forms. They have the ability to put clauses in there. You can submit not love letters. In some areas, you're not allowed to submit a love letter to the seller, but you can put in offers of, here's why I want to do seller financing. Here's the benefits for you. I'm going to put my seller financing letter in the description of this video. So check out below if you'd like to see that. So it's really cool to hear 2 investors who've been doing this a while that have pretty much the same opinions on when to use an agent and when not to use an agent. And I think that since most of the people who watch my channel are in their first investing years, it definitely makes sense to use an agent.
Yeah, I just want people to realize what you're saying, because again, there's a lot of fake gurus, fake noise out there that are selling this or that off market, buy this application, do this mailer, do this thing. Off market's where it's at. That is, that's a cesspool. It's very easy to get burned. Yeah. Again, if you're a full-time employee doing this thing, you don't have time to do all the checks and balances. Have that licensed resource. Again, 12 years, 100% of my deals were with agents, buys or sells.
I get a kick out of when somebody says you have to buy an off-market deal that needs a rehab, that has a motivated seller, or you're never going to make it in real estate. And I'm thinking, but not today. I've paid pretty much asking price, maybe negotiate down a little when I could. I'd pay over if the math made sense, if the yield was there, off or from the MLS that needed no work and made work completely optional in less than 10 years.
I retired financially for free, replaced 2 6-figure incomes 100% out of the MLS.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, if somebody wants to reach out and has any questions, Matt, how can they get a hold of you?
Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube, and 11:30 a.m. Eastern time every Sunday for 3 hours. We'll answer questions live.
And Mike?
one rental at a time on YouTube, Instagram, website, all that good stuff. Books. And yes, 8 a.m. Saturday, I go for 1 hour. I just can't go for 3 hours like these other
Pacific
two rock
time.
stars. Pacific
8 a.m.
time.
Pacific time. Yeah.
Pacific, yes.
You guys' live streams are awesome. I see you answer almost every question that comes across, so I think people should show up for those.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.